I get asked a lot of things, folks. I get asked a lot of questions, but probably more than anything else, I get asked, how can I have God in my life? Or even more to the point, how can I have the peace of God in my life? And if I can come to you this evening and say to you without any shout of a doubt, I can guarantee you a way to have the God of peace, and of course, the peace of God in your life, would I have your attention? I think I would. 2 weeks from yesterday, Jay Campbell and I will be interviewing Bob Sanders of the Great White Brotherhood on The Last Stand. That'll be on Monday, 2 weeks from yesterday. Looking forward to that. We've got a lot of great programming coming up. Hope that you will continue to stay tuned. And I want to show you how you can guarantee to have God in your life. And not just any God, because it's not that hard to get a God in your life. If you want to get a God of wrath, you want to get a God of revenge, if you want to get you can be in contact with certain things called gods, and it's not that difficult to get them in your life. But if you want to have the God of peace, the peace that passes all understanding, the God of peace, the true big G God in your life, well, there's one certain way to do it, and I'm going to share that with you right here and right now tonight on this channel. And I'm coming at you right here, wall to wall and treetop tall, and we're going to show you how you can have God in your life. And I want to show you the end of this before I show you the beginning. The God of peace shall be with you. So if you do these things that I'm about to show you, there's no doubt, ladies and gentlemen, the God of peace will be with you. Let's look at it in the interlinear so you can make sure that I'm not pulling the wool over your eyes, because you're not sheep anymore. The God of peace, the God of what? The God of peace, the God of quietness, the God of rest, the God of health, the God of welfare. That's the God that will what? That God will be. That God will exist. That God will be around. That God will hang out with what? With you, ladies and gentlemen. The God of peace. And this, incidentally, is the word in the New Testament for the Elohim, or the original creating gods. It's not Kairos, which is typically the word for the Lord, Yahweh, Marduk, Radbastard, as I affectionately call him. But the end of these things, ladies and gentlemen, if you practice, if you perform, if you accomplish, if you practice the active process in performing a deed, if you will actively process these things as a regular practice, then the God of peace will be in your life. But you have to do it as a regular practice, ladies and gentlemen. You have to commit to it. You have to say, yes, I'm going to do it. But if you do, I can guarantee you that the God of peace will be in your life. Now, Paul wrote this, and Paul didn't want us to know how to have the God of peace in our life. He didn't want to give us a way to know how to get the God of peace in our life. He wants us to be affiliated with his God, which is a God of war, a God of revenge, a God of vengeance. But here's a way that you can get the God of peace in your life. Well, Jeff, if he didn't want us to know, why'd he tell us? Because he has to. He has to tell us so he can be absolved of blame, and it's left to us to figure out the encoding and the encryption of what's going on here. So let me show this to you again, and let's get into this, and let's find out how we can bring the God of peace into our life by an active process. Doing it as a regular practice will bring the God of peace into our lives, ladies and gentlemen. How do we do it? What has to be done? How hard is it? Well, it's kind of hard, ladies and gentlemen, because what you have to do is this, ladies and gentlemen. You have to think. And Henry Ford, who stole most of his stuff from Nikola Tesla, but he did have a great quote. He said, thinking is the hardest work there is, That's why so few people engage in it. If you want to have the God of peace and the peace of God in your life, you got to think. And you've got to actively think. And I'm doing this rather cold with the hot coffee, so I'm not sure exactly what this word think means. But let's take a look at it and let's see what this word think in verse number 8 means. What do we have to do? We have to think. But what does that actually mean, to think? Well, let's take a look. And this is how you study ancient scriptures. This is how you study literature. This is how you study scriptures. And when your computer works for you, it's pretty easy to do it. But sometimes when things don't work, well, now you got to figure it out and you have to be patient. So we got to think. And we've got to, really, this thing is going to do this to me right now. Boy, it is stuck fast, ladies and gentlemen. It does not want to do anything. So he said to think on these things, and we're going to probably have to shut this whole thing down and come back to it because it is just in a loop, ladies and gentlemen. It is in a loop. Well, maybe you'll just have to trust me for a minute, because I'm not about to shut this down just because Bible Hub doesn't want to work. And it's not just Bible Hub, it's my whole system. I may not even be, well, I'm not online. I may not even be online anymore. And that's okay because we're recording. But anyway, so you're going to have to trust me. When it says think on these things, it doesn't mean to just sit around and every now and then have a daydream. It doesn't mean to, ponder a little bit of this and a little bit of that. When it says think on these things, it means to actively think, to make a desire, to make a plan, and to purpose it in your heart to think about this, to purpose it in your mind to think about this. It means to be dedicated. It means to have a regiment. It means to sit there and say, I'm going to think about these things. I am going to make sure that I think about these things. I am going to ensure that I think about these things, and I'm going to discipline myself to think about these things. I'm going to discipline myself to make a practice of the discovery of these things. And of course, with the internet screwing up, I can't even tell you what these things are right now. So we might have to go and see on our other computer. Yeah, my internet must be out because it's just not working for me at all. But we've got backups, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry to yell in your ear like that. We've got backups, ladies and gentlemen. Think on these things. What he's talking about, ladies and gentlemen, is to make a disciplined effort to consider and limit yourself to the considering of these things. My internet's not out. This is just bugaboos because this is so important, ladies and gentlemen. So what he's saying is, if you want to have the truth of God in your life, well, I can't even shut this window down. Somebody really doesn't want us to hear this, but we've got the technology. So, and he says finally at the very beginning, it says finally, brothers and sisters. And what that word means is at the end of the day, after it's all said and done, regardless of what else you do, this thing you got to do. This is the key, he says, finally. This is the key to understanding and getting the peace of God and the God of peace into your life. And the ultimate way of getting the God of peace and peace of God into your life is to think, really to control and discipline your thinking. And controlling and disciplining your thinking, it's so funny because I went to turn on my other computer. And of course, it's one of those things where it says, we're working on updates, and it's 3%. I love it because there's really an effort to keep this from getting out, but it's going to get out, ladies and gentlemen. So what we do is we think, disciplined, and what do we think on? We think on these things, not those things. We discipline our mind to consider and ponder and receive only certain things. that means we're cutting off things into our mind and we're focusing our mind only on certain things. Things that are noble, things that are right, things that are pure, things that are lovely, things that are admirable, things that are excellent, things that are praiseworthy. Think about such things and think only about such things. So, Jeff, are you telling me that if I want the peace of God in my life, if I want the God of peace in my life, all I have to do is control what I think? That's right. All I have to do is not think about some things and think about other things. That's right. More specifically, if you want the God of peace in your life, the peace of God in your life, you have to think about only certain things. You must not allow your mind to go to anything that is not noble, anything that is not right, anything that is not pure, anything that is not lovely, anything that is not admirable, anything that is not excellent, anything that is not praiseworthy. You must not allow your mind to go to anything that isn't those things, and you must regiment your mind to stay only in things that are those things. And think about it. Think about the attributes of the true God. Noble, lovely, right, admirable, excellent, praiseworthy. Doesn't that sound like the attributes of the true God? And doesn't that sound like the attributes of the God you'd like to have in your life? How about a spouse or a significant other? Would you like to have someone that's noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, and praiseworthy? Well, if we can get the God of peace into our lives by thinking only about these things, then do you think that we could get a person who's aligned with these things into our lives by only thinking about these things? Why do I get people like Wayne and Rex and Heidi and Jenny and Derek and Jay and more into my life? Because I think about stupid things? No, because I think about things that are right, pure, noble, lovely, admirable, excellent, praiseworthy. Because I'm a crazy optimist. Even when things don't go right, I'm still a crazy optimist because I know that they're going to go right. But we're not talking about me. We're talking about you getting the peace of God and the God of peace in your life. And it's very simple. Control what you think. Don't think about certain things and think only about certain things. Certain things like whatever's noble. Whatever is noble. Let's see if I can do the interlinear on this device. Is it possible, ladies and gentlemen? Can we do the interlinear on this device, or has it come back down here yet? It is still spinning around down here. Isn't that something? So we can do the interlinear. How about that? Finally, so whatsoever things are, it says noble, but it means true. Whatsoever things, ladies and gentlemen, are true. And that word true means things that are unconcealed, things that are true in fact, things that are actually truthful, things that are demonstrably true. You don't want to be with a God that has things concealed. You don't want to be with a person that has things concealed. True, ladies and gentlemen, think about things that are true. Think about things that cannot be hidden. Think about the truths of nature that can't be denied. Think about the things, just look around you and ponder the realities and the beauties of things that cannot, ladies and gentlemen, be denied. So think of things that are true. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do this on here, but this is good so far. Think of things that are true. I think I'm caught in a loop here now. Doggone it. I don't even know if I can get back to my scripture, but that's okay because we got some good stuff here. Oh, here we go. We're going to get back. Think of things that are truth. And then think about things that are right. Well, truth is one thing. What does right mean? Well, right means something that is righteous by implication. Think about righteous things. You don't have any trouble thinking about unrighteous things. Whenever you start thinking about an unrighteous thing, just stop and start thinking about a righteous thing. Think about things that are filled with truth. Think about things that are apparent. Think about things that are righteous, ladies and gentlemen. Think about things that are pure. And that word means things that are ethically pure. It's not that hard to think about that. Think about things that are ethically pure and hang out with people that are ethically pure. I like it. What about things that are lovely? What does lovely mean? Come on, come to me. Lovely means thing that is pleasing, a thing that is acceptable, a thing that is grateful, a thing that is affectionate and caring. Think about things that are grateful and hang around people that are grateful. Wow. This is good stuff. Think about if there's anything that is excellent, if there's anything that is good, if there's anything that is gracious, is there anything that is virtuous? Think on those things. If there's anything that is of a good report or worthy of praise, what does that word mean? Anything that is worthy of condemnation, of commendation, anything that's worthy of approval, anything that is worthy of praise. Think on these things. And ladies and gentlemen, if you think on the things you're supposed to think about, you don't have time to worry about the things that you're not supposed to think about. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to worry about what we shouldn't think about if what we are thinking about is things that are noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, or praiseworthy. If we're thinking of those things, we won't have time to think about things that are not. And we're told that if we think on those things, the God of peace and the peace of God is going to be in our life. And I'm going to take it another step. If you hang out with people that are noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, or praiseworthy, then not only are you going to have the God of peace and the peace of God in your life, but you'll have the peeps, the people of the divine in your life. Do you notice that it also says, it doesn't even have to say what not to think about, because if you're thinking about these things, it doesn't matter what else you don't think about, because you're spending all of your time thinking about what you should think about, and you're spending all of your time doing things that's going to get the peace of God and the God of peace into your life. You want to know how to get the peace of God in your life? You want to know how to get the God of peace in your life? I just told you how to do it. Think on certain lovely, beautiful, noble, praiseworthy things, and the God of peace will be with you. And the peace of God will be with you. Any questions? I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. This is New Cosmic Knowledge. We're the last generation of real humans. We know what to do. Let's get busy.